Story 1. I wish that they would see and feel the harm they do to others. Even if it does not benefit me, it would benefit everyone in their life and hopefully make them a better person. And yes, I would take an equal measure of that in case I am the one in the wrong. Story 2. To quote Chance the Rapper, I hope you get a paper cut on your tongue from a razor in a paper cup. I hope every soda you drink is already shaken up. I hope your dreams dry like raisins in the baking sun. I hope your breasts are all saggy in your early 20s. I hope there's always snow in your driveway. I hope you never get Fridays off, and you work at a Fridays that is always busy on Fridays. I hope you win the lottery and lose your ticket. Story 3. I hope they never have a cool side of the pillow. Their pets leave paw prints everywhere they sit. Never find a matching pair of socks. Have all their garbage bags break while carrying them to the trash. Find that the restaurant is out of whatever they order every time. Can never find the right size battery they need when their controllers die. Amen. Story 4. Someone posted something a while back that had to do with immortality combined with each passing day being worse than the previous day. I would wish that upon my worst enemy. Story 5. Perpetually itchy anus. The inability to finish a yawn. Constant eyelid twitch. Persistent dry mouth. Unending flatulence. Severe untreatable dandruff. Always having that one sock that slides down your foot when you walk. Non-stretchy elastic in your underwear. May your washer always smell like mildew. Athlete's foot. Story 6. Every time they try to open a drawer, there's a spatula getting stuck and jamming it. Even if it's not a utensil drawer, there will always be a spatula that they have to unjam. Story 7. I hope they are unemployed, homeless, and then dumpster dive and eat food, have a surprise allergic reaction, and then their throat swells and they die. Story 8. An uncontrollable addiction to charity. If they weren't giving something away every day, they couldn't sleep. Since my worst enemies also happen to be the richest people in the world, the only way the obsession stops is when they have nothing left. Imagine Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk bidding on who gets to build the next orphanage. Story 9. I wish the size of his feet would be different every day, and his forehead would never stop being itchy, and there is nothing he could do about it. And I would also wish his life to be filled with never-ending misery and despair, and he would never be able to die, and he would suffer more and more with each close call or failed attempt. Story 10. I wish they really did face a court of law instead of me turning the other cheek, which they used as an opportunity to slander me instead of taking accountability. I wish they had the stigma of the charge to their name. Story 11. Dear enemy, I curse you and hope something slightly unpleasant happens to you, like an onion falling on your head. Edmund, Archbishop of Canterbury. Story 12. Politicians making laws about women's bodies. Be given that complicated endometrioma I once had on their testicle or ovary, whichever applies to them, and have them experience watchful waiting and a rupture with no pain medication. That ruptured cyst made me feel the warm ushering of my ancestors. Ready to meet my maker, I was. Tell me again, politicians, why the medication to eliminate the occurrence of these cysts is not available in my country. Tell me, you liars, tell me why, after experiencing that, which also gives you nausea, which makes you unable to even take the Tylenol in your medicine cabinet that would have taken the edge off at least. I have gotten off track. What do I wish on my enemy politicians? I wish upon them to be told their endometrioma pain is all in their head, and they are hysterical, and it's not a big deal. That is what I want for them. I want their pain to be dismissed and downplayed while I sign an executive order to make sure they don't get the treatment needed. But since I am a nice person, my executive order has a loophole that allows them to easily get the cure if they are literate and don't listen to false information. They will get it, because I'm not a monster, just a tough person. Story 13. Cursed to live my life. People do not understand what it means to be disabled until it happens to them. I wish nothing else for the Chief Executive Officer of the Railroad Retirement Board for denying my case and letting me die. Story 14. Wow. All you all wishing relatively tame irritations on your enemies. Tell me what it says about me that the first thing to pop out of my mouth was gallstones. I had them, gallbladder is removed now actually, and everyone said to me, Oh, I wouldn't wish that on. Yeah. Well, not me. My biggest opponent can suffer. Story 15. Have a miserable chronic illness that keeps them dangling between disabled and able-bodied, getting neither of the benefits at best, and finally forget what normal ever felt like. Story 16. For a silly answer, for both sides of their pillow to always be warm. In all seriousness, I wrestle with extreme empathy daily, so I would want them to see just how exhausting that really is. You can learn a lot about people based on how they handle their own feelings and how much attention they're willing to pay to those around them. If someone ever truly wronged me enough to warrant the title of worst enemy, I would just want them to experience the perspective of seeing how their behavior actually affects the people around them. It's a valuable learning experience to improve oneself as a person. The inherent pettiness of humbling someone else with constant emotional exhaustion is just a little surprise bonus. Story 17. To pay your dues for the bad choices you make. I saw this interview with an angry federal employee who lost his job and voted for Trump. If Jesus himself came down, handed me a pile of cash, and said something about forgiveness and to give that money to that man, I would drop the pile at his feet and walk away. Story 18. I like the line at the end of Man in the High Castle. To be able to look through that door and glimpse all the people you could have been. And to know that out of all of them, this is the one you became. Story 19. Vertigo. Have fun spending years in bed. As far as you are concerned, you are literally dead. Your life ended the moment you got vertigo. You cannot even kill yourself because that would require you to stand. Story 20. I do not necessarily have a worst enemy since I tend to keep to myself, but for politicians, world leaders, and certain billionaires, I wish for them to have a kidney stone the size of a quarter form in each of their kidneys every Monday and have it take the whole week to slowly exit their body by every Sunday. Story 21. I would wish them to make the record for the longest life. Old age is not for the faint-hearted. And every year brings more pain as everyone you know dies, and your body has more and more problems. Story 22. Ideally, a nightmare that makes them experience exactly how I felt at the worst moments they did to me. I want it to be one of those nightmares that feels like you're stuck in there for 10 years, but in reality, it was just a short little dream. Then they remember it all in depth and decide to be better people. Story 23. To be extremely inconvenienced daily. Catch every red light, license checks everywhere, traffic buildup, phone didn't charge overnight, spills a drink a day, etc. Story 24. An annoying itch that never stops, but they can't get used to the feeling or ignore it. The itch just builds and builds until they scratch it thoroughly, but the relief is only temporary and resumes randomly within a few minutes to a few hours. Story 25. A combination of all the most medieval tortures. Ling chi, boiling, crushing, scaphism, keel hauling, drawn and quartered, just enough to keep him alive, and then rats. Prison isn't good enough for them. Story 26. Becoming successful and wealthy, and then realizing that people are only nice to him because he has status, and that no one is actually impressed or cares about him. Story 27. A tiny scratch in the taint. Not so bad that they always think about it, but it happens at the worst times, like when you're introduced to your fiancé's parents. Story 28. A few things. Stepping on a Lego randomly throughout the day, stubbing their pinky toe every morning, having a cluster migraine every time they tried to take a vacation. Story 29. I could have sent 2 people to jail, but one considered it home for 10 years, so I'd be doing one of them a favor. I hope they are both okay, but at the same time, I hope karma hits them 10 times harder. Story 30. I also wish that every single public toilet they sit on, because my enemy would definitely be one to sit on a public toilet, was warm and wet as soon as they sit down. Story 31. That they have to wipe their ass with sandpaper after their business is done. Get 100 cuts on their body and have to swim in a lemonade pool. Put a nail in their toenail and kick the wall. Story 32. I would hope that they find God, understand and appreciate the sacrifice Jesus made, and invite the Holy Spirit into their heart. Once that really happens, we could no longer be enemies. Instead, we would be children of God together. Life is short. There's no room to waste on hate or resentment. Life is a gift. I believe that life was given to us by God. We should thank him through prayer and action every day for the gifts we've been given. Our lives, our experiences, our sustenance, our salvation. Story 33. Hot humid days with only lukewarm non-alcoholic beer. To repeat all the horrible things they have done, only this time in front of their friends and family. To never have a comfortable pair of shoes and stand all day on concrete floors. To never see or hear anything clearly. To never have a hot meal. To have an abscessed tooth and a migraine every night. To have jock itch and prickly heat. For their hands to always be sticky. Story 34. Pinecone shifts, teeth falling out dreams every night. Favorite ice cream is always sold out. Birds hate them, car problems, no cell phone reception. They can still call 911 in an emergency. Everyone just assumes they're lying about everything. Story 35. I hope you stub your toe, bringing on the worst stub toe pain in the history of stub toe pain. Then, you get in your car for work, which happens to be a manual transmission. When you press the clutch pedal, the horrible pain reminds you of the stubbed toe an hour before, sending a shockwave of heat and pain directly to the brain. It is at that moment you realize your toe is broken, and there is absolutely nothing to be done but carry on with your day, thinking about the initial impact of stubbing your toe with every step you take for the next 7 days. Story 36. So on a human level, I wish the worst torture possible a human being can go through and just pain every day of his life. On a spiritual level, wish him the best and God knows what to do. Story 37. A highly treatable form of cancer. It will help them get perspective on life and how fragile things can be. Hopefully, that will lead to positive change. It will also bankrupt the person. Story 38. May they be forced into hyper-awareness of what they have done and be stuck with the guilt for decades. Also, a slow, painful death, and for one, painfully losing everything she has. Story 39. Every time they log into a website, their password is rejected. Every time they make a new password, it says, "You cannot use a previously used password." Story 40. The easiest answer is to make them aware of why they are my enemy. How they change or not is up to them. In reality, you should try not to have enemies. Story 41. When they are eating, I wish their seat would always be higher than the surface the food is on. I hope all they can eat is cold soup on cold days and hot soup on hot days. Another good one would be that they are always hot when they try to sleep, like they cannot sleep more than 3 hours without waking up drenched in sweat. Story 42. That they were aware of their own putrid pride, humbled in suffering, that is actually wishing the best for them, because that cultivates personal growth, but the pain it would inflict on narcissism would be a wonder to watch. Story 43. To quote the band All American Rejects, "If you see my face, I hope it gives you hell. If you find a man that's worth a damn and treats you well, hope it gives you hell. I hope you hear this song and never tell. I hope it gives you hell." Basically, the Italian proverb, "the best revenge is a life well lived," applies to my life, while my worst enemies see it and regret even knowing me in the first place, since my life is that much better. Story 44. To make the whole world hate them, including themselves. They will become the example of what you do not want to become, what Christians condemn as satanic and unholy. They will be considered nuisances to society and public affairs. And they will believe what the world says about them and abandon all hope. They will live with the fact that they were the most hated person in history. I do not know if you wanted something more violent, but this is what I would actually wish. Story 45. The worst physical, mental, and emotional pain imaginable. To be fair, this has happened to 2 of my worst enemies, and they were still massive assholes after. So maybe it's not the way to go. Story 46. All right, let me cook. A feeling they have a booger but actually don't. A nail that grows faster than the rest. A random bad smell that they can never find but also never leaves them, and only they can smell. The inability to wet their lips. Uneven cuts for the rest of their life. A nose hair always sticking out of their nose. A cut on their anus for life that never heals. Can never find their things unless they ask for help to find them. Always one cent off when buying groceries in a long line, and they only notice when they're at the register. Glitter on their cabinet, yes. Food always sticks to the pan when they cook. Lastly, the classic hot pillows always. Story 47. I see a lot of people wishing things upon them that will 100% simply make them take out their frustrations on the people they already victimize. The empathy comments are the only right answers. Story 48. My worst enemy turns out to be Mitch McConnell, and I would like someone to lift our current president to a great height and drop him on Mitch. Are you offering a service? I would like to get an estimate. Story 49. Stepping on Legos. Even if they don't own any, just magically, bam, a Lego underfoot. Or to be mildly inconvenienced, like running out of window washer fluid after hitting bugs, or their absolute favorite drink is out of the vending machine, so they have to settle for their second choice. Story 50. Make them spend an entire year in a village where everyone was completely kind and forgiving, always smiling, always speaking positively, and always eager to help others. Guilt from bad actions is the absolute worst feeling in the world. Tears you up like nothing else. Story 51. That they would lose the back of their television remote. And then they would have to endure that awful feeling of that missing piece beneath their fingertips every time they use it. And when they dropped the remote even slightly, the batteries would fall out and roll under the couch and make them scream. Why does this happen to me? If only I had the back of my remote.